Good evening. This is NEWS.PH. I'm Pia Ontiveros. On December 4, 2012, the Commission on Elections promulgated Resolution 9561-A, the rules and regulations on the ban on bearing, carrying, or transporting of firearms or other deadly weapons, and the employment, availment, or engagement of the services of security personnel or bodyguards during the election period for the May 13 elections. That is what we're going to talk about tonight. We invited COMELEC Commissioner Elias Yusuf to the show, as he is the chairman of the Committee on the Ban on Firearms and Security Personnel, to talk about the details, point by point, of the resolution. But Yusuf declined the invitation, as did other COMELEC representatives, because they said they are about to make changes in the resolution in a command conference tomorrow. But we have with us tonight from the Philippine National Police, the Deputy Director of the Police Security and Protection Group, Senior Superintendent Diosdado Valeroso. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here. And from the Philippine Practical Shooters Association, its Secretary General, Rosendo Boji Castro. Hi, sir. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Pia.
Well, Colonel General Valeroso, shall I promote you na ba? Wag muna. Superintendent, Senior Superintendent Valeroso. Let's begin po, sir, with the Reso 9561-A. Let's talk about the scenario. So, on January 13, that is on Sunday. Yeah, that's the start of the election period. That is the day that you're going to have the gun ban and yung ban on security personnel. What happens to those politicians, incumbents, or candidates running for running in the May elections who have police escorts given by your office?
Pia, let me first clarify the issue on the gun ban and the protective security concerns of the candidates. Because the COMELEC resolution, we have to stress this point, that it only covers those who are running for elective posts. So even while we scheduled for the recall of our PSPs, protective security personnel, on January 10, which is tomorrow, which is 3 days ahead of the start of our election period, ito po ay nangangahulugan lamang na magko-consolidate muna, hihintayin natin yung clear guidance from the COMELEC and the PNP, because by tomorrow they will also have a coordinating conference to trash out certain issues that tend to confuse our candidates and those who have availed of our security personnel.
Okay. So medyo nakakahilo ang 9561-A.
Hindi naman, because
hindi naman medyo lang.
Hindi naman dapat sila ma-confuse actually, because the COMELEC resolution covers only the candidates. So because we have...
So yung incumbent senators ngayon, incumbent congressmen who are not running for office, pwede silang magdala pa rin ng baril, pwede pa rin silang may...
yung mga PSPs nila, for the meantime, nandun pa rin sa kanila. That's the reason why they have to clarify that particular issue, that when the election period starts by January 13, eh malinaw pa rin sa kanila that they can still have their PSPs. So,
okay. So yun ang magiging pagbabago. Yun ang babaguhin doon sa 9561, na ang pwede pala ang incumbent. Ganun ba yun? Incumbent tapos hindi tumatakbo.
But not running for elective posts.
Okay.
Ang mga makakapag-avail ng PSPs, yung mga kandidato na tatakbo na incumbent ngayon, no? But if you go through the provisions of Section 6A and B of the Resolution 9561-A, sa Section 6A niya, malinaw doon na pinapayagan lamang ang mga senators na mag-avail ng PSPs. Then for the rest, na mga tumatakbo na kandidato, ang pwede nilang i-avail ay yung private agents from the private detective agencies.
But what do they need to clarify if like you said, it's here in Section 6, 9561-A. What else are they going to clarify? And let's read it, no? Section 6, who may avail of security personnel bodyguards, except those constituting the regular security personnel complement of the President, Vice President, Senators who are not running for election, justices, judges, cabinet secretaries, etc.
Oh, let's go to our statistics, no? Yung exemption. Pursuant to Section 6 of COMELEC Resolution 9561-A, we have a total of 29 protectees. From the Vice President, Senators who are not running for re-election, justices and judges, cabinet secretaries, chairman, commissioners of the COMELEC, total of 29 protectees, with a total of 97 detailed PSPs.
How
And
many is
then-
that per person? Kung 29 lang.
2 each, plus yung iba pa nilang additional.
Additional.
Oh,
Two police.
2 policemen.
Sino yung additional? Ano yung additional? From where?
Kasi may mga PSPs tayo na nade-deploy, minsan 5 sila, ganun. Kasi nagro-rotate. Nagro-rotate yun. Hindi naman everyday na nakakapag-provide lang yung dalawa. So,
Okay. So you're saying, sir, these 29
these are exempted. Pursuant
exempted.
To,
Can we read the names of those exempted?
generic
Namay.
ito eh.
Okay.
Alam naman natin yung sa position nila.
Oo.
No? And then dun sa incumbents, meron tayong 2 candidates for senators with number of detailed PSP na 10. So
paano yun?
lumalabas
Sino yung
5
dalawang
each.
yun?
4 for Senator Trillanes and 6, I guess, for Senator Loren Legarda.
Okay. So,
So,
ano
10
mangyayari
yun.
sa kanila? Since they're running,
Then, by January 13,
tatanggalin.
the PSPs will be recalled.
Unless there is that amendment.
Oo. COMELEC na
COMELEC ang magsasabi.
sila nang magano.
Okay.
yung
And
sa
we are
guidelines.
presuming that amendment will be that hindi tatanggalin yung mga yan.
Hindi naman, because they have to apply upon application for
Okay.
exemption.
Okay. So, what we're discussing here is, kumbaga, the scenarios on January 13. But then, like you're saying, Colonel Valeroso, baka nga magbago. Ano pa ang, how huge a difference will it be, no, between the changes, the changes in the rules that they're going to make and the present 9561?
Walang masyadong changes because established na yung template, yung procedures. Ang nagkakataon lang, COMELEC takes over yung sa application.
Yeah. No, what I meant, sir, is kung sino yung mga exempted, yung mga hindi covered ng ban, yung mga ganon. Yun lang.
Yun pa rin. Yun,
Okay.
like, here in our statistics, generally, karamihan ng mga may PSPs would be exempted because they are the ones who availed of the PSPs and most of them are not running for elections.
Okay.
Kaya nga pag tinignan mo yung statistics, konti lang talaga yung affected.
Okay.
ng
Are we
COMELEC
saying
resolution.
that para bang the idea behind this na because they're not running for office, then they would not be the source of violence? That's why pwede silang mag-maintain ng baril nila. Ganun ba? Is that correct, Mr. Castro?
I think, to my understanding, that's the point.
Okay. Kanina I was saying, no, if on January 13, so aalisan ng police and AFP escorts yung mga politiko, we're not ang sinasabi niyo kasi kanina, Colonel, is yung incumbent senators lang, di ba? What about the
Based on Section 6A.
senators? So yung ibang mga local government officials, congressman, mayors, yun
Yung mga
ang
hindi naman tumatakbo, they can still avail of the PSPs na naka-detail sa kanila ngayon.
Pero was there I mean, I'm sure in all your coordinating conferences, pag nag-uusap ang PNP at COMELEC, lumalabas ba yung mga scenario about what happens if pag natanggal na nga yung mga police and AFP escorts at papalitan sila ng mga security guards who are not only underarmed, for lack of a better word, no, with 12-gauge shotguns and 9mm pistols, ano mangyayari? Have you drawn out the scenarios for that?
The basic scenario is to really extend police protection sa mga candidates, no? Generic yun. Kasi kagaya nung pagre-recall ng mga PSPs, lalo na dun sa mga kumakandidato, is that we would not want them to be given the advantage over the others who have no security.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
the basic premise is that they should not be using government resources for their own advantage.
Okay. Mr. Castro, can you help us out here also? What are the possible scenarios that can play out when you have a situation like that? You remove the protective security of local politicians in any province, no? Tapos you give them security personnel with those firearms.
For me, if I'm a politician, I would rather have that to have my own security because I'm used to them and I trust them. So if I'm a politician, I would rather have my own.
Yeah. Well, were there any situations in the past na kunyari magkaribal na politiko nagsasalubong ng convoy, parang gano'n, ano, tapos parehong high-powered firearms. Have you considered that, sir?
Isa yan sa basic consideration ng PNP. Kaya nga, ang marching order ng Chief PNP sa mga regional directors is to really dismantle private armed groups. So, ito yung regime na patas ang laban. So,
Okay. So you call them private armed groups, but many of them,
meron.
many of the politicians, if
category
not
ng-
most, have police and soldiers as escorts. Are you saying na itong mga police and soldiers as escorts become the private armed groups of these local politicians? Is that what happens sometimes?
Ang issue kasi doon, pag na-identify yung mga armed groups sa isang politician, nagagamit na issue against him yun eh. But kung tutusin, yung mga leaders nila, not necessarily the politicians themselves, maintain these groups and active naman sila tuwing campaign period lang eh. So,
Okay. When we talk about itong 9561, then what it allows, no, na you can apply for 2 protective security or you get your own, parang from a private security agency, hindi po ba? Ano kayang pakiramdam ng politiko na gano'n ang mangyayari? Kasi syempre ang iniisip ng tao, naku, security guard ang kukunin ko, yun ba yung binabaril pag hold up sa bangko, yung mga gano'n ba?
these private agents coming from the private detective agencies are well trained. We have around 24 security agencies which have their own training schools or outfits, and these are accredited by the PNP. So
Okay, but 9561 specifically says in section 6 that for protective agents, they can only have a 9mm pistol and a 12-gauge shotgun, right?
for the
Medyo mahina yun,
private
ano?
agents.
For the private agents. So medyo is that, I mean, Mr. Castro, can you fill us in yung how, anong pakiramdam ng politiko kung ganito lang ang dalang
Well, I'm not a politician,
Yeah.
but I can imagine that
yes, well,
a
we were
shotgun
supposed to have a
and
politician tonight, but he backed out, so
yeah, a shotgun and a 9mm pistol is will be outgunned in case of a firefight against armed groups or hired guns.
Okay. So have you heard from, I'm sure that you hear from, kunyari, mga local government officials, mayors, governors, you know, what do they think of this resolution? Kung ganun na, if they feel na baka outgunned sila.
I think, as I said, they would rather have their own security and to be armed with rifles, especially probably in case for the politicians in Mindanao.
Okay, we're going to have to take a short break. NEWS.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is NEWS.PH on the Solar News Channel. I'm Pio Ontiveros. Our guests tonight, Police Security Protection Group Deputy Director Senior Superintendent Diosdado Valeroso and the Philippine Practical Shooters Association Secretary General Boji Castro. We're talking about Reso 9561 and its implications on what's going to happen. But then like you said earlier, Colonel Valeroso, syempre baka magbago dahil nga may pagbabago nga
din dyan.
na bukas pa ata i-announce ng COMELEC. But anyway, your officer is the one that gives out security detail.
Yes,
Hindi po
that's
ba?
the mandate of our office.
How many of the, what is it, 148,000 strong PNP
Strong
force?
PNP.
How many of them are providing security detail for politicians and VIPs? Hindi lang politiko, right? May mga negosyante, private individuals, no?
Currently, at the strength ng PSPG, we're only below 2,000. So,
okay.
hindi naman lahat yun are detailed as PSPs.
Oo.
Kasi
How long do they stay with these people?
depende yun sa threat level. Sa threat assessment nila, kung medyo talagang intense yung threat, medyo tumatagal din. Pero may mga instances naman na pag humuhupa na yung threat at hindi naman na nila kailangan ng PSP, sila rin mismo ang nagbabalik nung detailed personnel natin.
Pero hindi lang yung PSPG based in Camp Crame ang nagbibigay ng security. Kanina you were
Yes.
saying regional directors, provincial directors are also authorized to do that, right?
Yes po. At meron tayong memorandum circular niyan na ang provincial director sa level nila, they are given an authority to detail personnel for 15 days, non-extendable. And at the level of the regional director, 30 days, non-extendable din po yun.
Pero nawawala
But
po
that's during regular
Oo. Pero
deployment.
beginning January 13, mawawala po
Wala
yun.
po yun. Kasi the COMELEC takes over. Yung template na sinasabi natin, pareho lang po yun. Kaya lang, aakyat po yun sa committee headed by Commissioner Yuso.
Itong mga police personnel who serve as security for these people, what firearms do they bring? Yung issued,
Usually,
PNP
9
issued?
millimeter lang.
9mm lang. Do they also bring firearms that are owned by the person that they're securing?
No, of course not.
Are we sure?
Yes, of course.
How can we be sure?
Because we, among other requirements for the detail, meron silang covered ng letter order or yung authority nila to carry their own firearms. One letter order, one firearms na kailangan lang to secure. Hindi naman sila yung aggressive party. Diba? Sila lang is for defense, for protection.
Okay. Is it cheaper for politicians, VIPs, whoever you provide security? Is it cheaper for them kung PNP personnel ang security nila?
No, we cannot quantify that one. Siguro kasi more on the confidence level na pag law enforcer yung nakadetail sa'yo,
May kumpiyansa ka?
kasi mas maganda yung
Yung training niya.
training niya.
Kasi police siya or
Tapos
something.
yung pagpunta niya sa munisipyo o probinsya, maraming pulis na madaling makaka-coordinate doon.
Okay. But when I talk about yung hindi nila kailangan bayaran, kasi syempre simusweldo na yung pulis sa PNP, di ba? So allowance lang. Pero kung kukuha pa sila ng private bodyguard,
They can really afford it. Lalo na kung mataas ang threat.
okay. Hindi kaya mas maganda kung after elections, wag na ibalik yung mga police security personnel?
It's like saying there's no more use for our office. So,
Okay. But right now, the PNP is in the process of accounting for all these, what they call yung mga wanted firearms. No? Is this also something that your office is looking into or helping at?
no, at
No.
this point, we're just helping facilitate for the agency accreditation, so to speak, or the clearance that will be coming from Commissioner Yusuf's committee, no? The Committee on the Ban on Firearms and Security Personnel. So, what we want to do in the PNP is for agency accreditation. So, we really have to prepare for the alpha list of all the PNP personnel, 148,000 plus po yan. And then they're issued firearms. So pinagtutulungan po yan ng Directorate for Personnel and Records Management natin at saka ng Directorate for Logistics.
Alpha list. The last time I heard that word was impeachment trial. So there's an alpha
Ang dami po yan.
You do that for every election or?
Kasi po, previously, ang requirement ng COMELEC is for individual policeman to apply for the gun ban
Yes,
exemption.
ang hirap naman
Ang tagal
nun.
po nun.
Oo. So ngayon,
Because it's too tedious.
Yes.
Minsan tapos na ang election, tsaka palang dumarating yung certification.
Okay.
So, this time, nanggaling na rin ang initiative sa COMELEC na pagtulong-tulungan na isabit na lang ng agency, the PNP, endorse ng chief PNP natin, papunta dun sa committee. And
okay.
then, they have a ready reference.
Aha, okay. And yan, talagang may exemption. Basta,
That is to facilitate.
Basta uniform, parang ganon.
Opo, may mga
paano
requirement
kung-
yan. Should be a bona fide policeman.
Oo.
Pag he performs his duties and functions, yung regular function niya, he should be wearing his uniform.
But there are times na in the performance of duty, hindi talaga naka-uniforme, hindi po ba?
Hindi po pwede po yun.
Hindi pwede, okay.
Lalo na nitong election period.
Okay, okay. Boji Castro is here also, like we said, of the Philippine Practical
Shooting Association.
Shooting Association. Sir, can you tell us, you applied for an exemption sa COMELEC?
That's
ang
right.
PPSA.
Uh,
How
the
many
me-
members do you have po?
We have about 3,500 members and
Nationwide?
nationwide,
Oo.
and about 173 gun clubs
Aha.
nationwide.
Okay, 3,500 in 173 gun clubs.
That's right.
And you applied for like a general exemption.
Yes.
What happened to that? First of all, what were the reasons that you gave the COMELEC?
Well, first of all, the members of the PPSA are all law-abiding citizens and responsible gun owners.
What do you mean by that? Sa
Well,
madaling salita, meron kayong dinescribe sa akin ng isang araw. Ito
yeah, so we follow the rules on the gun safety, and we train our members how to properly handle firearms in defending themselves and their loved ones.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about the rules of gun safety in a little while because we're going to go through that one by one, and we will have a reason for that later. But right now, sir, you were saying kasi when we were talking on the phone the other day, sabi nyo kasi at least dahil linggo-linggo nagpa-practice kami, nasa firing range kami. Ano yon, yung hindi nangangati ang
That's right. Especially during New Year celebration, since we fire our guns every week, hindi na nangangati yung daliri namin during New Year celebration to fire our guns indiscriminately.
Okay. Tell us what makes you different. Earlier you said we're law-abiding. What makes you different from the goons who run around as if they own the town?
Because we love this sport. It's actually a way of life. So we have to be responsible. If not, the privilege of owning a gun will be withdrawn by the government.
It's a sport.
That's right. Yes.
Okay, and of course those who do indiscriminate firing, halimbawa sa New Year's revelry or yung mga private armed groups, they don't see this as a sport.
Yes.
Okay. You requested for exemption of the gun ban. There has been, may binigay na ba?
We're still waiting for the approval of the COMELEC because right now we're very anxious because we're in the process of preparing for a big competition, international competition.
Which one is this?
This is the 2013 Ausal Asia Handgun Championships to be held in Rotorua, New Zealand this coming February, from February 26 to March 2nd.
The president is also a gun enthusiast, right?
That's right, yes.
Or a practical shooter.
Yes.
What, by the way, does practical shooting mean?
Well, practical shooting as opposed to precision shooting is a very dynamic sport. It involves shooting while running, shooting with your strong hand, with your weak hand. So you need to develop an instinctive style of shooting. Your total points is divided by your time. So you need to be accurate and fast.
Okay. Earlier we were showing already the rules of gun safety. Let's put that back up on our wall, on the screens, no? And let's go through it point by point. Because what I want to do is help educate those who do not use guns, but also those who do sometimes indiscriminately, no? So let's go through it one by one, sir. First is it says, I will treat every firearm as a loaded one.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that common sense? Why?
But some people do not have common sense actually. So
Oh, I see. Common sense not too common.
that's right.
Okay.
So you always assume that a gun is loaded, even though the owner says that, oh, my gun is not loaded.
Oo,
Because he
walang-
might not be aware that somebody else loaded the gun. So every time you hold a gun, you have to assume that it is loaded. You
You never
don't do
pointed-
this, yes.
Yes, or you never pointed at anyone.
Yes, that's right, yes.
The second rule on gun safety, I will never point a firearm at anything I am not willing to destroy.
Yes, even though you know that it's not loaded, because it can fire accidentally. So yeah, you never point a gun at anything or to a person, even to yourself.
The third rule, I will be sure of my target and what is behind it before firing.
Yes. So you really have to make sure that there's adequate backstop in case of a firing
What is
range.
backstop?
That's the backstop is the earthen berm downrange to stop the bullet.
Okay, but of course, this is in a firing range, no? What are the practical applications of rules number 1, 2, and 3?
Even for example, we're not in the firing range here. If we have a gun, for safety reasons, you're not supposed to, just handle it and point it at anybody or anything.
Okay. The fourth rule on gun safety, I will keep my finger off the trigger until my muzzle is downrange.
Yes, because if you put your finger on the trigger when you handle a gun, there's a tendency for it to have an accidental discharge. So you have to make sure that the muzzle of the gun is pointing downrange and your sights are on the target before you put your finger on the trigger.
Okay. I suppose you had many thoughts running through your mind all throughout your New Year revelry, and then all the news about all these children getting hit by hindi nga stray bullet yung isa talagang.
Yes, it's very unfortunate when things like this happen because we are always penalized by stricter gun laws whenever heinous crimes are being committed.
Okay. Now, for the election period, of course, like Colonel Valeros was saying, there will be some changes. But did the PPSA make recommendations to the committee? Did you forward any recommendations for changes in the resolution?
We actually spoke with Commissioner Yusuf before Christmas when we requested for exemptions from the gun ban. And we also sent a letter to then Chief of the PNP, General Bartolome, through General Purissima.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight, Colonel Valeros of the PSPG. Tama na.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you po, sir. And Mr. Boji Castro, the Philippine Practical Shooting Association.
Thank you,
Salamat po.
Pia.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you. We'll see you again next week. Good night.